Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming to Grace St. Paul Episcopal Church. And thank you very much for Grace St. Paul for having us. This is also the home of Star in the East, where we have our Christian meditation classes, and we've passed out a flyer. Everyone is welcome to come. It's a free course that's Wednesday nights starting on the 28th. We're so happy to be hosting Geshe Michael Roach and Christy McNally here at the church tonight. They're two of America's leading Buddhist lecturers, and we're just so pleased to have them. And they will be surprising us tonight. All I know is the title, The Goddess Code, and this is part 2 of Spiritual Relationships, if anyone was there last time. So thank you for coming. We will be having a break, and if everyone could take a second to turn off their cell phones right now, that'd be great. And this is Will Duncan, who also leads the Star in the East courses here at Grace St. Paul. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start. First, I'd like to thank Mercedes and Will Duncan and all the people who helped arrange the church for tonight. We were just blessed in our city to have His Holiness the Dalai Lama here. And I don't know, it feels like we're just riding on his energy right now. And what has always impressed me since the beginning, I met him when I was 19, I think, and is that his insistence that everyone deserves to be happy, and that we have a right to be happy. Everyone has a right to get the things they hope for. And I think oftentimes people make a distinction between spiritual happiness and worldly happiness. They say, you can be a spiritual person, but then you shouldn't be financially successful. Or you could be a spiritual person, or you could have a nice family. Or you could be spiritually oriented, or be healthy. But somehow to be healthy and financially successful and to have a nice family and be spiritual, somehow you shouldn't be doing all of those at the same time. But it seems to me, if I understand the teachings correctly, that if there's a key to the universe, right? If someone could give us the key to the universe, then it should work for all of those things equally. If there's some method to be happy in this life, then personally I would also like it to pay my bills. And I would like to be healthy. And I would like to have a nice partner also, and a nice family. You see, I don't think they are contradictory. I think if you find the key for one thing, it would be the key for all things. And that's really what we're going to talk about tonight. There's a very ancient teaching about the key for having a good relationship with another person. We call it spiritual partners. And it's a beautiful teaching. It came from India almost exactly 1,000 years ago. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, my brother came from Seattle. He's not a Buddhist. I think it's the first time we sat together in a teaching. And I think on the second or third day, he turned to me and he said, "What's this Naludu he keeps talking about?" And I said, "No, it's not Naludu, it's Nalendra." He says, "Well, spell it for me, And I spelled it, and he said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "Oh, this was a beautiful monastery in ancient India, not far from Tibet, pretty close to the Himalayas. Beautiful place. And this was in the old times, the monasteries were different. In this monastery, people learned to meditate, and people learned Buddhist philosophy. But also there was a whole system of other kinds of happiness. And certain monks went through a course of learning how to cultivate a practice with a partner, a spiritual partner. And this was a beautiful custom in Nalanda that if you were mature and if you were knowledgeable and if you had studied, then you would have a spiritual partner. And our great example in our monasteries, in the Dalai Lama's lineage, all the lineages of Tibet, is Naropa. I think you heard the word Naropa University nowadays, and they have taken the name of this great Buddhist monk who also found this key. And he worked hard, and he found this key to happiness. And he also had a very beautiful and deep relationship with a partner, with a spiritual partner named Niguma. And each of them taught many Tibetans who came down from the Himalayas, and then those lineages came back to Tibet. Many teachings came to Tibet through these two great masters, Naropa and his spiritual wife, Niguma. And there's one special teaching called the Angel of Diamonds. And within that teaching, there's what we call the Goddess Code, the Code of the Goddess. And it's a collection of 8 teachings, 8 pledges that you make when you are trying to find a spiritual partner, and then how to keep that spiritual partner, and then how to get all your worldly goals and also your divine goals with your spiritual partner. So there's this very secret teaching called the Goddess Code. We have a project to input ancient manuscripts. We've located 102,000 ancient manuscripts. I've only found one among those which explains the Goddess Code. It's a very secret. It was kept. Traditionally, it was only taught in small groups, 2 or 3 people at a time. So we are under vows ourselves not to tell you everything about the Goddess Code. And for that, you need a little more training. But we thought it would be appropriate to discuss with you the general principles of this code, the Goddess Code. And you could use it in your own life to find a nice partner. After you find them, the problem is to what? Keep them. And even if you keep them, you'd rather be happy with them and keep them than be unhappy with them and keep them. And then if this key works for happiness in this life, it should also help you with your next life, with the higher life. So we're going to be going through this Goddess Code with you in tonight and tomorrow. We'll start out with sort of introductory things. You need to know the foundation of the code. And then by tomorrow it gets into sort of hot stuff. So tonight is more the foundation. And then tomorrow is more the specific guidelines or suggestions on how to relate to your partner, both emotionally and also physically, and of course spiritually. So that's my shtick. Also, nowadays there's a tomb. There's a tomb in China of it's dedicated to the Goddess Code. Those of you who know the teaching of the Angel of Diamonds, it is the partners of Pamtingpa brothers. So these are the brothers who helped bring the teaching to Tibet from India. And there's a beautiful shrine dedicated to one of the Pamtingpas and his spiritual partner in China, even now. So we sort of feel like this teaching bridges. Nowadays there are these 2 superpowers, America and China. And we feel like this is a bridge between the 2 nations that could be very precious for each country. So Christila is going to talk about the word goddess, because she's such a goddess. And she sticks me with all the boring stuff. I get to talk about the code part. So, Christila.
He only says stuff like that to me when we're in the middle of, a few hundred people at home. At home I don't get goddess and all that stuff. So I really appreciate you coming because it really, every once in a while it's really nice to hear. So goddess. That's what this little very cryptic thing in the middle of the top of your reading says. That's the word ma in Tibetan. And ma, it means wife or mother. And in the secret teachings, that is a code for one side of the teachings or the other. They call it Magyu teachings or Pagyu teachings. So you're either studying the teachings of the female side, the wife or the mother, or you're studying the teachings of the male side, the father or the husband, right? And so these are a teaching of the female side. And what does that mean exactly? There are dualities, right, within every one of us. It's in the Chinese system, it's like yin and yang. And there are these two energies. And one is day and one is night. One is hot and one is cold. One is introverted, one is extroverted. One is compassion and one is emptiness. Now, in these particular teachings, that's what we emphasize the most. The female side of the teachings are always the emptiness side of the teachings. The male side of the teachings, they're always the love and compassion side of the teachings. Like we heard these last 4 days with His Holiness, you know? That's like a male side of the teaching. He teaches love and compassion. He teaches how to open our hearts, for the most part, right? Although he knows both sides, of course, he's a whole human being. He's not even human, right? And that's the goal, Yusan, about 1 year ago, right? This is the reason why we have some sort of urge to be with someone of the opposite sex. There's some sort of desire inside of us for to become whole beings. And traditionally, males would have a little bit more of the male energy in them, and then females would have a little bit more of female energy in them. And so you would be attracted to somebody who had an energy that you lacked, because inside you have this burning desire to become a whole being, to become like His Holiness. So the use of these kind of sexual energies inside of us, that's like a base form of a higher sort of energy, of an energy that will make us whole. And this is the basis or the foundation of this teaching, the teaching of the goddess.
I'll talk a little bit about the code part. This code is considered so important in Tibet that as monks, we are required to recite it every day. So I'm going to recite it for good luck, okay, just for you. Yimbe kunje minye che, chene minna nyongju pang, jorze taran jame ja, chagya nam nindo me ja, chala nam ni go me ja, chinan tabla sorbe kunda menjin sangje chen, changcem lenze kyuto pang. These are the goddess code, and it's considered so beautiful and so important for us that we have to recite it every day during our prayers. So what I thought I would do is talk about the idea of a code. What does a code mean? You see, in this case, it's not like the Da Vinci Code. It's not like something secret. It's more of a code of life or a code of behavior. So these are 8 guidelines. You can call them commitments. You can call them pledges for how to have a partner and how to make that partnership deeper and more meaningful. How to find a good partner in your life. How to keep them. How to be happy if you do keep them. And then how to take it to a higher level without losing the normal level also. You can have your cake and eat it too. You see? So there are 8 guidelines. A lot of them are negative. Dormi ja, gyume ja. These things mean don't do this, don't do that. You see? And what this means is that in this system, when you take a partner, when you decide that you would like to try to have a higher relationship with a partner, then there are certain guidelines. You be careful not to make this boo-boo, okay? And be careful to do the opposite. You see what I mean? And in Tibet and in India, this is a very important thing. This teaching has gone on for 2,500 years. The original source of this instruction goes back 2,500 years. People have been working on this partnership thing, this code, for 2,500 years. So they've identified, on one hand, certain things you should avoid. Like, if you want to have a good relationship, probably it'd be good not to do this, you see? And then on the other hand, these are masters of karma. We're going to talk about karma. They understand what a big role karma plays in a relationship with the opposite sex. So they are giving you the 8 most powerful karma. Like we say, His Holiness said, Geshe Shitong. He said it during his talks. There are 84,000 karmas you can do. You know, there's a list of 84,000 karmas you can do. But what the masters do through the lineage, and this is a very pure lineage, it's been passed on. This isn't something we made up. This has been passed on from teacher to student for these thousands of years. Over the years, they have identified the 8 most powerful karmas. You see? So we don't have to go struggling through 84,000 different choices. They say, concentrate on these 8 ideas. Concentrate on these 8 kinds of action with your partner. These are the most powerful karma of all. If you can, with your partner, if you can do these 8, then it's going to work out. Then you will find an ultimately beautiful partner. Then you will be able to keep them. And then you will be able to do something higher with them. See? So this is really, they call Gyatone Duba. His Holiness's name is Tenzin Gyatso. Gyatso means in Mongolian Dalai. Dalai. It's the Dalai and Dalai Lama. And that means ocean. And the idea is that here's a person who knows all the good karma you could do, but he sucks it all into one thing and gives a talk to 30,000 people in a basketball stadium. You see what I mean? He can, in 1 hour, give you the most powerful karma to do. So this code means, here is a suggestion. 8 simple rules you can use with your part to find a good partner, keep them, be happy with them, and then take it to a higher level. So we'll start on the next page. It's called the echo effect, page 2. This is not one of the 8. This is like background information. Okay? This is like something you need to know to make it work at all. And we had a fight. She said, put it in the 8. I said, no, I want to put it first. And I won this fight. 1 out of 100. But anyway.
He was all of them.
I think you have to know about the echo. This is you need to have a certain knowledge to even start the 8. You know, you can't really get into the 8 unless you know about 2 important ideas. One is called the echo effect. And here's an ancient scripture. It's from 2,500 years ago. And I'll just give you this story real fast. I was in a corporation for 15 years. I know what it's like to get a 3-day weekend, you know? Like somehow there's this really weird custom in the United States. Work for me for 50 weeks. I'll give you 2 weeks off. You know? This is like a good deal, right? And if you get to be a manager, I'll give you 3 weeks off. And 49 weeks of work. You know? And we do it, right? I did it. And so I know what a weekend means. I know what a 3-day weekend means. So some guy in ancient India, he gets a 3-day weekend. And he says, I'm not going to stay in the city, I'm going to go to the countryside. I'm going to go out to the Chiricahua Mountains, sit in a little place, little trees at the base of the mountains and relax out there. So he goes out Friday evening. By Saturday afternoon, he's like, oh, this is great. I should quit my job and just stay here, study at Diamond Mountain University, And he's so happy that he starts to sing, I always imagine that it's a Neil Young song. And he's like, hello, cowgirl in the... And then he's just by himself, And then he hears this, and he's like, ew, what's that? And he's like, you're like scared, maybe it's some kind of javelina, or we have these things, what do you call them? We have cotamundis, these weird little animals, So he's like concerned. And then he waits for a few minutes, and then he doesn't hear anything. So he sings the second verse, is this place that you'll claim? And then he gets this, and so he decides right then, Saturday afternoon, he says, there's people around here making fun of me, There's people hiding out here. They're ruining the time. I'm going back to Tucson, So he gets in the car, he drives back to Tucson. He's wasted the only 3-day weekend of the year. I know what that's like, to lose your 3-day weekend. It's one thing to get a 3-day weekend. It's another thing to have it screwed up in the middle, right? He comes home, and you know what the story is. You know what the sad thing is. What? The was an echo. That was his own song coming back to him. Okay? His own voice is so terrible that when the echo came back, he thought it was somebody else. You see what I mean? Like, it sounded so bad that he thought it was a javelina or what do you call this? A cotamundi. And so why did Lord Buddha teach this? It means this. Everything about your partner, good or bad, is bouncing back from something you did to somebody else before. You see what I mean? What you call karma. They call it the echo effect, okay? So, if your partner is like, I don't know, nice to you, it's not an accident. It's not just chance. It's not because you talked them into it this morning, right? It's because you were nice to somebody else before. You see what I mean? And then the opposite too. If there's something about your partner that you don't like, if they tend to pick on you or something, or never call you goddess, except in public talks. That's an echo, you see?
Yep.
It's an echo bouncing back. So everything about your partner, good or bad, everything you see is coming from who?
Me.
It's coming from you, right? It's coming from you. That's the key to this whole approach. You can't learn these 8 karmic, keys unless you understand that. Everything about the person you stay with, everything you like about them, and everything that bugs you about them is you. It's coming from you. You see, they are a mirror, and they are reflecting back to you who you are. Okay? So how long does it take to reflect back? I mean, an echo comes back within what? Half a minute, right? Karma can take weeks. Karma can take months. You see, if you're nasty to somebody at work in September, it could be that your partner is nasty to you in October, okay? And that's why we don't recognize it. You see, that's just the problem. And they used to say, probably in Tibet, moms tell their kids, don't step on bugs, Johnny. Why, Mom? Because it'll come back to you, Somebody will step on you. Yeah, Mom, but I stepped on one this morning. Nothing happened to me. And probably they have discussions like this. What you have to realize is that it takes time for the echo to come back. And I didn't buy this. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, and I went to Tibet. I was trained by Tibetans, 25 years. And I didn't buy it for a long time. I'm like, yeah, that's just some excuse to explain the cruddy things that happened to you. You know, oh, I must have done this to somebody else. But if you hear someone explain it nicely, how it comes back to you, then I can sort of buy it. You see, after a couple of years, I started to buy it. And after a couple more years, I started to use it, right? Like we needed to raise money for Tibetan refugees. I used the echo effect as they taught it to me. It was the fastest growing company in the history of New York City. It's up to $250 million a year now. You see, you can use it. If you understand it, you can use it. I had a very severe health problem. I was crippled. I straightened the bone out. I changed it. Now we do ballet sometimes together. You can use this principle. If you understand it, you can use it. What do you have to understand? When you do something nice to somebody else, who's always there? Me, okay? That's the first principle. Your mind is like a camera. Your mind is like a video recorder, okay? It records everything. We were in 3-year retreat until 2 years ago. In the Chiricaos, we did a 3-year silent retreat. After 6 months, all these stupid advertisements from when I was a kid came into my mind. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, you know? And you're like, no, you're like trying to meditate, you know? Imagine like 12 hours of, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, you know? And like, you're like, I haven't heard that for 30 years, you know? Why? Everything is stored in your mind, you know? Every TV show you ever saw is stored in your mind. That's why when you get my age, you forget stuff. Because there's too much in there. You see, I mean, everything is recorded. So when you are nice to somebody, your mind records it. Then it cooks in your subconscious. It cooks, they call bachak sunepa in Tibetan. It cooks. And then it comes out of your own eyes and ears and nose. And you see things that you wouldn't see otherwise. You're always wearing these karma sunglasses. And they decide how you're going to see everything. They decide whether your partner is nice to you or bad to you. See, your partner's not doing anything. They're just like a movie screen. And whatever you did to people before is being projected on them and bouncing back to you. Every detail of your life is an echo. Every single thing that ever happens to you in your life is coming from you. Because you were there when you did something to somebody else. And then it comes back to you. So that's depressing. Okay? That means every irritating person you ever met is you. Okay? No, that's really... No, I have students who get really depressed. You know, they go into a month retreat and they come out all, you know, they look terrible. I say, what happened? I was just thinking how all the cruddy people I ever met in my life are coming from me, from what I did, you see. But you can turn it around, you see. You can use the echo effect, you see. You want to have a nice partner? You have control over that, you see. That's up to you. It's not them. There's nothing coming from her, you see. I want her to be nice next year or next week. I just have to be nice to... I don't even have to be nice to her, you see. See, that's the...
See, I told you.
No, that's the cool part. They asked His Holiness during this talk, they said, is it always the person that you did it to that does it back to you? No. You see? Like, if it's too hard for you to be nice to your partner, you can be nice to 3 other people. Okay? And then they will become sweeter next week. You see? It's very... You don't have to get in a big karmic confrontation. Just be nice to anybody. It will filter back through your whole life, you see? So, if it's difficult with somebody, don't stress. Be nice to somebody else. The echo comes back through other people around you. So, on one hand, it's kind of depressing that every lousy person you ever met, even up to an Iraq war, is coming from you. But on the other hand, you have complete power to change it. You know? Just be nice to anybody, you see? And your partner will start to be sweeter and sweeter. You see? This is a beautiful foundation of all 8 parts of the Goddess Code. You have to understand this part to use the other 8 successfully.
So we're going on to the next page. This is the other half of the foundation that you need to understand the 8. This is what we normally do. This is what happens if we don't remember that everything is an echo in our life. What happens when we don't remember that it's all coming from us. And so normally we're in this, what Geshe Michael likes to call the diamond dealer trap. And I'm sure any of you who's ever been to Geshe Michael's talks has heard this before. In fact, I think we did it in the last partner talk, like a year ago. It was in there. I checked. So I'm just going to do a little tiny review. I'm not going to tell the whole story because you've all heard it before. You remember the guy. He's like this really pushy salesman guy, and this lady comes in, and he's like shoving 2 diamonds in her face, and one of them's this big yellow diamond, and the other one is this smaller white diamond, but it's got the black spot in it, and neither choice is good, but she's like pressured, and she's torn between the 2 decisions, and she's trapped into thinking she has to make either one or the other, right? And there's this, and that's what's called the 2 bad choices, right? We're always stuck in our lives thinking that we have to decide between 2 bad choices. And this is called the diamond dealer trap. And we have to learn how to catch ourselves whenever we're unhappy, especially considering this is a partner talk. Whenever we're unhappy with our partner, it means we're in that sort of dilemma, stuck between 2 bad choices. Whenever we're at a loss for what to do, or we're trying to do something and it's not working, we are in the diamond dealer trap. We're stuck between 2 bad choices. We put this quote in from the Gospel of St. Thomas partly because we're at this beautiful church. And it says the same thing in a little bit more serious way. And I'd like to read the verse. Jesus is speaking, and he says, I came and stood in the midst of the world. In the body did I show myself to all the people here. But I discovered that all of them were drunk, and none of them were thirsty. It hurt my heart to see these children, for inside they are blind and cannot see. How they come into the world with nothing, and leave with nothing too. So Jesus comes into the world. He tries to tell us what's up. He tries to tell us about how all of the mistakes we're making, but everybody around him, they weren't thirsty for the knowledge that he was giving them, right? And he said he saw everyone, and inside they were blind, meaning in our minds we're blind. In our minds we're thinking that we can decide either one or the other of these 2 bad choices, and one of them will work. For instance, if somebody, for instance, was angry with you yesterday for not giving them enough time to work on the upcoming Tantra teachings, should I, A, reason with them and tell them, we were just at His Holiness's talks and you organized all these meetings and really it was you who made all of these schedule decisions and it wasn't me and there's no reason to be angry at me. Should I reason with them, Or should I go make him a cup of really nice hot chocolate? And try and sweet talk him back into not being angry with me. I mean, neither of these choices are going to work, because neither of these choices is going to affect what's actually causing what I am seeing, which is somebody being angry at me. We tend to think that, I did such and such, we got home late because I had to stop at the store, and then we didn't have enough time on the computer, and then somebody got angry at me. And we think that these are all cause and effects, sequential events that are cause and result. But really, the whole scenario is coming from a previous cause way over here. It's the echo effect. You know, this whole like negative chain of apparent cause and events are coming from something way in the past. It's coming from when I was actually angry at another person in the past, and I made irrationally angry, as in my perspective. And it's now being shown to me in my world, and I'm in the present moment. There is nothing I can do about it. You see, there's no surefire method for preventing this state of anger once it's already arisen in my life, right? Because the real cause of the anger happened way in the past, and I can't affect it anymore. It's already gone. It's kind of too late. I already did it. I already created it. The real way of getting rid of an angry person in my life is not to get angry in the future, right? Or especially not to respond in kind to anger in the present moment. But what you need to realize is that time gap, right? The person might still be angry with you, even if you're being really good and not responding with anger, because of that time gap, because of that echo effect. It takes time for the echo to come back to you. It takes time for the seed that you planted by being angry at another person to wear out. And then if you know this clearly, you won't plant any new seeds for anger in the future. And then in the future, you will never meet that angry person. No matter how late you make them, no matter how little time you give them on the computer, they'll never be angry with you, because that's not the real cause. The real cause is getting angry at other people. So you have to catch yourself not being trapped into this diamond dealer trap. You have to catch yourself. You have to realize that nothing can be affected in the present moment. You know, none of the causes that you think you're working with are actually the causes. The reason that you got to the church today is not because you put gasoline in your car and you pressed the gas pedal and you drove here. You know, there's another reason why we're all gathered in this church today to hear this talk. There is a deeper reason for it. There's another cause why we're all here. How do we know this? Because there are lots of people who have a car, who have gasoline, and they try and get to some place like this church, and they don't end up getting here for whatever reason. Maybe they get lost. Maybe they get in an accident. Maybe something else happens. The real causes always work. The real causes are always the cause for things. And that means you can always stop the things you don't like. And you can always create the things that you want to happen. One last thing about this quote. He says, we can't see how we come into the world with nothing and we leave with nothing too. This, in terms of the partner talk, to me means in the normal course of events, we would eventually, even if we had a perfect relationship, have to lose our partner. They would eventually have to be torn away from us, because either my partner or myself would have to die. And we would be ripped away from each other. And we would leave this world alone with nothing. And we would be separated. And in this particular teaching, the highest form of this teaching is that it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to be separated by death. We don't have to be torn away from all the people that we love in this world. If we cured this blindness of reacting to things as if we can affect them in the present moment, if we actually learn how to use the echo effect and work with the actual causes, then we can stop everything we don't like, including the ultimate disaster of being ripped away from everyone that we love. Then we could be inseparable. with the people that we love. And we'll talk more about that as the teaching continues. Next page. This is the first of the first pledge, let's call it, of the Goddess Code, of the 8 pledges in the Goddess Code. And it says here, Yun Chu in Tibetan. This particular form of writing Tibetan, for those of you who are studying it, is sort of a Tibetan-Chinese bridge. So it's kind of hard to recognize, but if I tell you what the word is, you could probably recognize it once I say it, right? So we both have a spiel, but since mine related to the other echo effect diamond dealer thing, I have to go first, so you don't get a break between Geshe and me. I'm sorry. So this code is called opposite signs. We called it opposite signs. And I'm going to talk about the word opposite, and he's going to talk about the word signs. Why is it that relationships tend to start really amazingly, and you're like completely attracted to the other person, and like desperately in love with them, and you could you do anything to be with them, and then slowly over time, as you spend more and more time with each other, this sort of peters out and wears out and wears off. Why is that the case? And this code has to do with that. It is our normal human tendency to get into a downward spiral with just about every single thing that we do in this life, including our relationships. You know, they start out really good, but they're due to some sort of human tendency in us. We are always creating the causes to see this particular karma wear out. We don't know how to perpetuate the good things in our life. We don't know how to keep our partner that like heart-fluttery, madly in love with each other kind of relationship. We don't know how to do it. But this vow, this pledge, it's telling us a key of how to do that. It's not your fault that these things are petering out. It's not their fault that these things are petering out. It's this human reaction. It's this instinctual thing. But what we have to learn to do is react the opposite of what we would normally want to do in any given situation. We have to train our minds to do the opposite, right? So I have a little example that I get from...
I heard it already.
that I got from the last retreat that we did together. Okay. So say that you and your partner have just gone on a retreat in Ireland, and it's about, I don't know, a month into the retreat, maybe, yeah. And during the retreat, we don't speak, and we like to face each other in our meditation because, to tell you the truth, at this level in our spiritual practice, we are each other's altar. So we face each other when we do our meditation, and so we sit quite close to the other person, like say I'm here and he's on the other side of this platform. So any kind of movement or this or that, you can hear it during your meditation, but we're really good. We don't move, for the most part. We're very good at our meditation, but Geshe Michael started doing this thing. You have to understand, when you get into retreat, it's completely silent, and you get really, really, really subtle. So any single little tiny movement or noise, it sounds like this big, huge truck, like driven through your room. And Geshe Michael, he started doing this swallowing thing, like he would swallow. Every 5 seconds he'd be like, and I don't know, I couldn't meditate. It was this really funny obstacle. I was like peeking at him, like, how could one person swallow that many times in the space of 15 minutes? Like, I was counting it because I couldn't meditate, so that's all I could do is just like keep counting the swallows. And it was like every 5 breaths, he would swallow at least once. Every 5 breaths. I mean, how long does it take you to do 5 breaths? So I had this dilemma. What do I do about the swallowing? So here's the deal. I am being interrupted in my meditation and slightly annoyed. These are the 2 karmas that are being that are arising to me at this particular time. So what do I do about them? My initial reaction at this moment was tap him on the leg and do this little thing. We did this retreat talk. We're silent, so we had these little codes. These little. It would be like this. Which translates to your swallowing thing is really loud. And that would have disturbed his meditation and probably irritated him as well. So my initial reaction, my gut instinct of what to do was exactly the thing that would cause more interruption in my meditation and more irritation for me, right? We have this initial, human tendency to do exactly the thing that will perpetuate this downward spiral, right? So what do you do instead? I mean, I only get 2 retreats a year, and this time is precious to me, and I want to meditate, and I got to prepare for that damn Bokjimba class, and I got to get into a deep state of meditation. They're counting on me, so what do I do about this swallowing thing? So I thought, well, I have these earplugs in my bag. I'll just go get the earplugs. So the next meditation session, we do several meditation sessions a day. So the next meditation session, I went and got the earplugs. Now this is like a diamond dealer trap, right? I just did a diamond dealer trap. Do I tell Geshe Michael that he should stop swallowing? Or do I go get some earplugs, right? I tried the earplugs. My breathing was like a truck. It didn't work at all. I was the loud thing, and it was even worse than the swallowing. What I needed to do, and what I racked my brain in retreat to do, was to figure out how to give another person quiet, uninterrupted, concentrated meditation time, right? So what happened? Geshe looks over at my earplugs. He's like, oh, can I try those, He loved the earplugs. I'm like, every single meditation session, I'm like, here's some earplugs for your constant, uninterrupted meditation time, Holy Lama. And it worked. It was the strangest thing. He stopped swallowing. So that's my story about, do the opposite of what you're initially driven to do. You have to stop and think. When you start to react, take 1 minute and stop and think, oh, maybe what is this reaction actually going to get me in the future? Hold on a second. It's nice to be in retreat because everything moves really slowly and you can actually stop and think. In the real world, the words are out of your mouth before you stop. So you have to develop methods in the outside world for slowing down your mind and not just automatically reacting. And another thing which is very important in this particular practice is you won't always succeed. You know, you'll try and, you know, give the earplugs. It's like the third day. He's still swallowing, and then finally you're like, stop swallowing, you know, and you break down. But the key is that the fight alone is creating this great good karma for you. It's creating great seeds in the future. So even if you eventually fail and do the diamond dealer thing at the end, keep fighting.
I'll just speak about the science part, opposite science, right? And then we'll take a break. And I heard they have fantastic refreshments, which is very interesting to me, because usually she's not so vigilant during these talks when there's refreshments. So the first part of the Goddess Code, this first pledge, the word signs has to do with when you meet a potential partner. Okay, like you're in Starbucks and you're like working on your computer if you get any time, and you know, like over the top, there's this person over there that they sit down and you're kind of like looking at them and trying not to look at them, and there's a secret custom. There's a beautiful custom from ancient times that you do in the first moment of meeting them. You see, like maybe this person. I went to that spiritual partner talk like last night, and he talked about Starbucks, so I went to Starbucks, and so he sat down across from me, or you know, the next table, and how do I know? You know, how do you know if this might be somebody that you could have a spiritual partnership with? And they say that there's this is a beautiful secret thing. There's a whole language going on between people which is not spoken. It's not even just body language. There's a whole level of reality. There's a whole higher level of communication, a very highly spiritual, divine level going on between people. On a much higher level, never spoken, never talked about, you see? And in the code of the 8, you make some sign to them, you see? Something unusual, it might be this, you see? It might be just that. And you don't sit there like that, you know? You just go, you're typing and you go like this. And then you keep typing, you see? And then you watch them. And you watch for some kind of sign. And again, I can't speak about it, you see? I can't tell you what it will be. You have to watch. You make a sign, you know? And it could even be, you know, like, it doesn't have, it can be a totally normal thing. You see, it could be like, you know, or, you know, I don't know, or something, you know, and then you, on your latte, with your latte, you know, but, you know, I used to like this one because it's kind of, you're pointing to your wisdom, to your eyes, you see, and you make the sign, and then you just watch them for a second, and you watch, and you see, and then on a higher level, there will be some answer, and then you will know, you see? And I can't say anything else about it, really, okay? Got it? There's one more part of this code that's not mentioned here directly in the name of it. It really has 3 parts. Nyimbe kunjimine che. Che means you should always make gifts to your partner. Always make gifts to your partner. You know, when I was growing up, it was chocolates and roses. You know, I kind of stressed the chocolates for some reason. But, you know, like, they would say when I was growing up, they'd say, once a week, you know, come home and give your wife some chocolates or some flowers, make them feel, you know, that you appreciate them like that. But this is a different thing. And this is very beautiful. Once you meet them, you do what the Dalai Lama taught this weekend. You see, it's called Dakshen Nyamje in Tibetan. Reverse places with them. Put yourself in their chair at the breakfast table. You see what I mean? So I do this, once in a while, okay? I reverse. I put myself in her chair. I'm sitting in my chair, but I put myself in her chair, you see? And then I'm looking at breakfast laid out on the table, you see? And then you do what you would like, because you are who? I'm her. You get it? So you just do what you want. It's no big stress at all. It's just that you're her. So you switch bodies for the first part of breakfast. So I switch bodies. So what do I notice? She seems to like the hot chocolate. You see? And the no sugar added type. Okay? Which I kind of like the extra sugar added type. But she seems to like the no sugar added type. So I watch. You see? Then I do first part of the first pledge of the 8. I honor her. I honor her wishes, you see? So I go out and get some no added sugar hot chocolate and I make it. You see? That's week number 1. Okay? But I keep doing it, you see? I keep sitting in her chair during breakfast. Then we were out at a Tim Hortons in Vancouver. I noticed that she likes the marshmallows in the hot chocolate, you know? So I go get marshmallows, you know? And then this is week number 2, and you watch how she plays with the marshmallows, right? And then then you hear her mention to somebody, I love those little tiny marshmallows. You know? So then the next week you get these little tiny jet-popped crap tiny marshmallows, you know? And you like put them in the hot chocolate. And and you watch her play with them, you know, and you're like, yeah, I got it. You see, you keep offering, you keep upping the ante every week. So you don't stop. You see, there's never any end to this. She happens to like 7 tiny marshmallows in her hot chocolate. You see, I've tried 5. And she kind of like puts the spoon around and looks grumpy, you know? And I've tried 10, and she actually took some out, you know? And so now I got it down 7, and they have to be Kraft, you know, jet pop. And this is offering. So as the relationship goes on, you refine, you take it to a higher stage. You master. People say, what do you do? What do you do? Meaning, are you an architect? Are you a lawyer? You know, are you a student? What do you do? And in your heart, you should be answering, I do a relationship. I do a spiritual partnership. What are you good at? What do you spend your time on? Oh, I type, I translate, I teach people. But in my heart, it's like, what's my career? I'm trying to master spiritual partnership. Every week, I'm trying to get this marshmallow thing down better and better, you know? And let it become your career, you see? For a person who follows the 8 code, the code of the 8, it's very serious. It's like a very serious commitment. And then you say, this is what I'm going to become good at, you see? Like the Dalai Lama, I was watching him. I was watching him for any sign of pride or bragging. And I waited for 4 days, nothing, you know? Like, come on, at least do something that's proud or self-interested or bragging. Finally, yesterday, at the stadium, you know, he said, after many years, I had this calm mind, you know, and it occurred to me, he's concentrating his whole effort. He's not painting a painting. He's not writing music. He's not building houses. He's not making money. Like, if you asked him, what is your career? What do you do for your career? I think he would say, I'm building a perfect mind. I'm building a perfect heart, you see? So if you do this practice, seriously, then everything becomes that. What do you do for a living, Geshe? Spiritual partnership. I'm just trying to make it perfect. You know, I'm working on perfecting this thing. That's my job. That's my practice. That's what I do for a living. You see? Well, of course you can't tell people that. So you can tell them, you know, I don't know. I'm a student, or whatever you want to tell them. Okay? We're going to take a break. Mercedes is going to make one announcement before the break, but let me announce something else first. if you didn't get a chance, it was very crowded this weekend. If you want to say hi to Christy or myself, or if you have a personal question you'd like to throw at us and see if we can answer it in 10 seconds, feel free to come up during the break. We'll stay here. We'll stay up here. And then you can just come up and kind of make a little line. And then please be considerate of the people behind you. If a line forms, then, try to get your question in fast. Okay? Yeah, we have to see Aura and Benjamin also.
Actually,
Okay.
that's me. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Please have a nice refreshment and bring us some too. Okay.
So as Geshe said, we have plenty of refreshments. They're all for free. We have a small donation basket, and all of the proceeds from tonight are going to help support Saramay Monastery in South India. And your donations from last year have fed 15 monks all of their food and medicine for 1 year. So thank you very much.
There's a film crew here from Amsterdam. We were very fortunate in Amsterdam to do talks this summer. And we'd like to welcome them and thank them for filming. So we're on to page number 5. And we won't spend very long. But you have to get this one tonight. And then we'll pick up tomorrow. In Tibetan they say Tsenden Min La Nong Juk Pang. And the writing here says Senden in a Sino-Tibetan writing. And this means, this is also part of finding your partner. Okay? This is also part of finding a good partner. And Senden means they should have a certain qualities. So I put look for quality. And then last night we had a fight about it. She said, that sounds like buying tomatoes. But I guess it's like that. You should look for certain qualities. So I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, they said, either you find a girl who's smart or who's pretty. You know what I mean? And it was always this. What's this mean? This is a diamond dealer chart. Would you like the yellow diamond, or would you like the diamond with the black spot? You see what I mean? And you have to say what? I want something else. I want a good one. You see what I mean? You have to reject the bad choices that your mind gives you. Okay? So, what do I want? I want everything. They should be pretty and smart. You see what I mean? And nice, and they should be loyal to me, and they should be... And then, you can make your own list, you see? The list you start out with, there should be 3 qualities. I mean, Senden means you don't go into a spiritual partnership with someone unless they're interested in doing a spiritual partnership, okay? All right? Generally speaking, we'll talk about exceptions, but generally speaking, as you are looking to find a person to be with, look for someone who has a little bit higher standards, right? Like, they don't just want to go out to restaurants. They don't just want to have a physical relationship, They don't just want to do this or that. Try to find someone who has 3 basic qualities. Okay, number 1, they see the suffering in the world and they're concerned about it. They see the pain in the world and they're concerned about it. Okay, they have some kind of desire to help people in the world. Everybody takes care of their own children. Everybody is concerned about their mother or their brother. But you're looking for someone who's truly concerned about pain in the world, no matter who has the pain. Okay? If you find a partner who's like that, it's much more likely to succeed as a spiritual partnership. Okay? Second quality. They love people without, what the Dalai Lama called it this weekend, without condition. right? Without conditions. They don't love them just because they're related by blood. They don't love them because they live on the same block. They don't love them because they do something for them, right? They love people without prejudice. They have a concern for people, no matter how old. The Dalai Lama, you should listen to him in Tibetan, what he's saying in Tibetan. I mean, half the time you'd be laughing, half the time you'd be shocked, you know? But what he said at that point, he said, doesn't goddamn matter. Skinny, fat, ugly, pretty, smart, dumb, love them all, you know? And you know, you can tell, right, when he's talking. So you should have this. Look for someone who has a capacity to love, which is not prejudiced, which is more open, okay? That's the second thing. Third thing, they should be looking for spiritual truths, right? They should be interested in traveling with you on a path to find the truth of life, you know? Do we have to suffer and die? Are we meant to be born and eat and poop and die? Is that all we're here for? You see? Do you find a person who is looking to go a little higher than that, right? They don't just want to go out to a restaurant with you. They don't just want to have a physical relationship with you or see a movie with you. They want to do something. We're in a Christian church, you know. We are here because a man 2,000 years ago said, there are certain ones among you who will not taste of death in this life, you know. He said several times, there are certain people in this room who will not taste of death in this life. They will pass to a higher place in this life, right? And you should have that sort of, look for somebody who has even a little vein of this in them, you know? Someone who has a little inkling of it in them. And then you can really have a deep spiritual partnership. In the code of the eight, we're not allowed, in this ancient tradition, to have a partnership with someone who's not interested in these high things. You see what I mean? So look, that's a little hard to find, right? I told her, one day I was thinking oh man, and it's not going to work out. But to replace her, I'd have to put an ad in the Village Voice, right? And it'd have to say looking for partner, Sanskrit scholar, should be a former cheerleader, you know, should enjoy staying in a yurt in the Mojave Desert for 3 years without talking, you know. And then, you start to think, how am I going to, Starbucks is okay, but if they got to have all this other stuff, how am I going to find somebody like that? Use the echo effect. Don't go looking. Make them come to you. You see what I mean? Make them come to you. Is it an accident that Lama Sopa Rinpoche and His Holiness the Dalai Lama and one of my dearest teachers, the head of the Tantric College, showed up this weekend in this little city in Arizona? You know, no. We forced them to come here. You see? They don't even know, you see? No, you undertake karmic manipulation of your environment. Seriously. You do certain actions to force this person to come to you. They call it the bee and honey syndrome. You know? You create a karmic honey. And then this partner will come to you. You can try to avoid them. You can stay out of Starbucks. You can lock yourself in your room. They will still come. You see what I mean? You don't have to go looking. You see? You don't have to put an ad in the paper. You just create the right karma. You plant the right seeds. You give the right thing to come back as an echo. So what would that be? You see? For a partner. The really most important thing for a person who's looking for this kind of, how are you going to find this kind of person? I mean, you can't put an ad like that in the paper. You know who's going to come if you put an ad like that in the paper? You create the karma to get a qualified. Senden means qualified. Someone who's qualified. Someone who's who's appropriate to begin a spiritual relationship with. So how do you find them? You support other people's relationships. That's all. You see? You don't have to worry, should I put makeup on or should I be natural? You see? Should I wear dark shirts or should I wear more of a light shirt? You see? Doesn't matter. Create the causes. Create the karma. Put out the honey, the bee will come. What's the honey? Every time you're around your friends who are in a relationship, try to help them make it work. You see what I mean? Like, I have a close friend who's having trouble with his wife. He was actually kicked out by his wife last week. I met him at the Dalai Lama's teaching, right? So, if I want to have a qualified partner, if I want to have someone with me who's attractive and smart and spiritual and has financial resources, whatever, okay? If I want that, then I have to create the honey. I have to put the honey out, you see? What's the honey? If I see someone who's having trouble in their relationship, I have to help them. I have to do what I can do, right? Without I didn't try to make a Buddhist out of them. I didn't do that. But I'm trying to get them to talk to each other. I'm trying to keep them together. I'm trying to make sure they try to make it work, you see? That also involves honoring other people's relationships. You know, any other person that you know who has a relationship, you don't screw around with it, frankly. I mean, bluntly. You honor it, you know. I think that girl's attractive. I was just seeing a movie about the guy who stole the girl from the other guy. Forget those movies. You know, it's not romantic at all. Okay? It's a very bad karma. You want to not have a good partner? You want to never have a good partner? Mess around with someone else's relationship. You see? You might get a partner for a few weeks, a few months, right? And then the karma comes back. You see? Then you can't get a relationship. So, if you want a neat partner, don't look at someone else's neat partner. Okay? Then that puts out the honey, and then you get a much better one, frankly. Okay? So that's a qualified. Put out the honey, the bee comes. The karma for a nice partner is to honor other people's relationships and help them keep their relationship tight and smooth. Okay?
So I get to do the second half of this pledge of quality. What happens if you're already in a relationship and you say, oh, but my partner, they don't have all those qualities? Are you just stuck? Should you grin and bear it? Or should you break up with them and find a better one? Exactly. You have to realize that the person that you're with is completely empty of any qualities of their own, right? Everything that you see about your partner is a reflection of your own mind. It's that echo coming back to you. It's that mirror bouncing back to you. So you could stay with that very same person, and you could plant certain seeds in your mind, and you could consciously develop the qualities that you think that they lack, so that they have them in abundance, right? This very calculatedly, consciously creating new qualities in your already existing partner, right? So we have to learn how to create the qualities we want in the person that we love. One of the best ways that I think I know how to do this is just a very short meditation that I like to do each morning. And it has to do with being grateful about the qualities that they do have. Because, as we said before, it's a human tendency to go in this downward spiral, right? When you have a partner, it's an automatic tendency to focus on all the things you think that they lack. It's an automatic tendency to take them for granted. And then what happens is you see them as less and less pure, as less and less special to you, as less and less beautiful to you as the years wear on. You just take them for granted, and you get used to them, and you don't acknowledge them. And what happens is that act of taking people for granted plants the seeds to see the qualities degenerate. Right, so someone that you met, who you married, who had these amazing qualities, 10 years later could, you wouldn't be able to see those same qualities in them. And it's not coming from them. It's coming from you. It's coming from your own interaction with them. It's coming from how you look at them every day, how you treat them every single day. And you have to learn how to look at them differently. You have to learn how to plant different seeds. So, I thought I would share a meditation that I like to do every morning with you. For those of you who have partners, you can do it the way that I say. For those of you who don't have a partner, we'll discuss it after we do the meditation, because there's a special meditation you can do as well. So just close your eyes. And I do this meditation as soon as I wake up in the morning, when I'm still lying in bed with my eyes closed. I'm next to my spiritual partner, so you picture yourself, lying next to your spiritual partner. Maybe you take their hand, or you're touching their shoulder, or some sort of connection between the two of you. And you just think, how lucky I am that this person is with me. And you just develop this sense in your heart of feeling so grateful that this person is by your side. Then go through in your mind a couple of your favorite qualities of theirs. I don't know. We were at His Holiness's talk, and I know somebody who is very critical, and my spiritual partner just went up to them with such love and such joy and such kindness and caring patience. And I could never do that to somebody who was critical of me, and I just admire that so much. So try and think about a quality, something you really respect in your partner. And then the last step, just before you open your eyes in the morning, ask them in your mind to please stay with you. Say, please always stay with me. And that's it. That's just the meditation. You can open your eyes. And you can do that every single morning when you wake up. And it plants the seeds to look on your partner with this light in your eyes of thankfulness that they're there with you, and gratefulness. And it counteracts that tendency we have to spiral downwards or take people for granted in our lives. For those of you who haven't found a partner yet, the meditation would go something like this. You would, just before you open your eyes, in the morning, in your bed, you would think about the person most perfect for you. Just imagine them next to you already. And imagine what qualities that they would have. And then The third step that you do is, please come to me. You ask them, please come to me. Right? So you have 3 steps also. And that will plant the seeds to draw them to you the way Geshe Michael was describing earlier. Yeah. But in addition, you have to keep your ethical conduct towards other people's spiritual partners, other people's partners in general, right? Or it won't work. Right? You need both. Yeah.
So we do a special prayer at the end. We really hope you come tomorrow because we like you all. And no, it's a very good feeling with everyone here. I don't know, some special feeling. And I hope you'll come tomorrow. Tomorrow we get more into there are some specific guidelines for physical relationship, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow.
Channels.
Including work with the channels. But what we do by the way, we'd also like to thank Barb Goldschmidt and her husband, who helped us very much, right there, to get this talk going ever since the beginning, and also graciously have given us their home to stay in. There's a custom at the end we made a lot of good karma tonight. Our country's kind of, I don't know how to say, we don't do partners so well. There's a big divorce rate. People are very unhappy. There's this, I don't know, schizophrenia about physical relationships. Like we want to see an R-rated movie, but then you're not supposed to do it on the, And we're very kind of, I don't know. We could do a lot better in our country, and a lot happier, and much more amazing partnerships. So we collected a lot of good karma tonight, just by talking about it. We're trying to import a foreign model of relationship. And it's a very beautiful, very deep, and we made a really good karma. If what we're talking about gets popular, we could make a lot of people happy. You could make a lot of people happy. So we did a big good karma. The best way to keep that karma is to give it away. The best way to hold the karma is to offer it to other people. So we have a special prayer, and we'll do the prayer, and we all hold our hands out like that. You imagine the karma like a ball of light in your hands, and then when we do this prayer in Tibetan language, you imagine that light is going out to all the people who are struggling in our country to have a nice relationship. Okay? So here we go.
Done.